Okay, it should. It's almost live, Randy. And I'll just remember, once we go live, we're live to everybody, even though it's not broadcast.
Gotcha.
It should be live, Randy. All right, folks. If you're checking us out on NC Wiseman or through Randy's share, we're about ready to get started.
And I'm going to your page now, Teddy. So
Okay, Randy.
Look to share that here in just a moment. Share now. Good.
We're on schedule. I like the fact that we're on schedule.
It's a good thing. It's not like
you shared.
Yeah, I shared it. So I can't blame it on traffic. Can't be late due to traffic. Traffic in my bedroom and my living room is low traffic at this time. So
I don't know about you, man, but I've got 8 steps to climb. It's hard.
Wow.
Yeah, I would be out of breath. I've been working on that exercise bit, but
Oh, you haven't heard my story. I have a treadmill. And I actually stood on it the other day.
you did.
Oh,
It works.
Huh?
You're that way for me, Teddy. No, he had to get past it, so he stepped on it to get over it. So he stepped on his treadmill.
It's baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah.
All right. We got 4 minutes. Do you want me to hit the live button?
Sure.
For broadcast? Are we good?
Sure.
Am I here okay?
Yeah, I'm even going to get a picture of a picture. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
There you go. There you go, guys. All right.
All right, we're broadcasting.
To me, Randy. Okay.
We're now broadcasting.
All right.
And we have one attendee.
We do, huh?
No, it's climbing. The numbers climbing. And Orielle, here's the numbers. When I'm talking about numbers, it's always 1,000. Oh my God, Randy, we have 9,000 attendees.
Yes. Speak those things.
That was 10,000 now.
We had what 700-800 or so views on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh wow.
You know what that is, man? That's just a bunch of people that ain't got nothing to do.
Nothing to do.
All right. Hey, welcome, folks. We're about 3 minutes before we kick off this very important conversation between Randy Wood and Teddy Burris and our special guest, Orielle Hope, who had no idea that what she was in for until she said, "Well, I'd love to join you guys."
That was her first mistake.
Yeah.
Right.
Hi, John. I see John's here now.
Hi, John.
John M. John, don't tell me you're here. Just sit back and behave. We'll get to you. I got to be careful. I can't go too far over the edge. So.
All right,
we got a couple more minutes. Kurt says, "Hey, guys and gal." Kurt from Chesterfield, Virginia.
Woo.
Randy, you remember that city? I used to chase women up there.
You did.
Kurt, where did you live as a kid?
We shall see.
All right, well, little careful, Teddy. Don't go all the way over the edge there.
No.
Cincinnati.
Oh, he was from Cincinnati. Okay. Kurt says, "Oh well, Teddy. I don't know."
I used to spend some time in Cincinnati. We had my grandparents lived in Dayton, and every summer, I grew up in Rhode Island, but every summer we'd go out to Ohio and New Jersey that was our summer vacation to see the grandparents. So, but when we go out to Dayton, we always got a chance to go see the Reds play baseball. So whether it's Crosley Field or Riverfront Stadium, great memories from back when I had hair, but a long, long time ago. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I almost got your graduation picture to bring it with us, dude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had a lot of hair there. A lot of hair. Now it's all coming out of other places now, but that's the way.
And you're lucky, man. I have to get a shave. I gotta get trimmed up, trim, and I'm like, I can't do it.
Nah. I shave every day, but I thought about this would be an opportunity for us to let the reel out, and
like
just
this?
I haven't done that I've shaved every day for probably 25 years at least. I mean, head, face, everything. So it is what it is. It looks like clock on the wall says it's about 12 o'clock.
We're ready to roll.
Yeah.
All right, folks. This is I'm Teddy Burris, and my co-host is
Randy Wooden from the Man Cave, working from home.
And joining us today is Orielle Hope. Orielle, thanks for showing up.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Remember what I told you, Orielle, be careful what your expectations are. Okay?
Yeah.
Randy and I did a session, our first session last week, and somewhere between the time we turned the off button and the next morning, Orielle said, "Hey, I'd love to join you guys." And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be good. So you're going to get a lot of value out of having Orielle here to help us.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Randy.
Well, Teddy, today is tax day, and normally it's a big stressor day for a lot of folks, long lines at the post office. But I know the deadline's been extended, so if you have issues, I think you've got plenty of time to still take care of that. But the good news, one of my coworkers sent an email today and said that she received her stimulus check from the government today. It showed up in her bank account. So it looks like things are moving. Yeah, things are moving along. Now, me, I'm an old school dinosaur guy. They don't have my bank account, so I'll get a check from in the mail, the U.S. mail. I don't know, at some point, but anyway, so that's been a big deal. And what about those storms on Monday? Are you guys?
Oh my
did
goodness.
you have any issues with that? Any issues at all?
Do you have any problems with it?
No issues other than interrupted sleep. It kind of scared me, but no issues. So I was very fortunate. I understand some other folks may have had a lot of damage, but none for me other than that sleep.
Yeah, we're also blessed that, and I live out in Davie County, North Carolina. Some people call it the home of the pump and munch, but we no sleep at all. We have one of those radios, those weather radios that goes wee-woo, all night long.
I got hit by a tornado back in 2008, back in Clemens. Yeah, my house got hit, and we had we luckily didn't have to move out, but anything you could see from outside, the roof, the siding, the fences, the trees, everything got replaced. And so that was quite an ordeal, but I'll never forget the sound of that tornado as it approached. And it was at night, so we couldn't see it coming, just like if a tornado had hit us on Monday, it was still dark out. So here again, just it's best to be safe, but those are hopefully once in a lifetime occurrences.
Right.
Once in a lifetime. So, hey, Orielle, we've done some talks ourselves, the two of us. Teddy, you and I have done some talks as well. And actually, Orielle and I were communicating through email the other day. I'd sent out some messages, and so we got talking a little bit. And I asked her whether she would be open to coming on and talking as a guest. As you know, folks that are watching, Teddy and I do a lot of job coaching, helping people with the components of a job search. But one of the things that we don't touch on a whole lot, and one of the main reasons I asked Orielle to be a part of our discussion today, is the emotions of a job search. A lot of stuff is going on up here. And not only when you combine that, the job loss, but the fact that we're all sequestered in our homes. So you've got other people there that can only add to it. So Orielle, thanks for joining us. And I'd like you, if you could, first just to kind of introduce yourself and your background, and then let's talk a little bit more in detail about the emotions of a job loss.
Yes. Okay. So again, I'm Orielle Hope. I'm a seasoned HR professional. I've worked in managed care, mental health care, and most recently, the senior living communities. So my background spans across the entire human resource gamut. So that's onboarding, the whole selection, hiring process. So dealing with interviewing and recruitment, as well as employee relations, strategic planning, policy and procedure development, and of course, compensation and benefits too. So I'm just really excited to be a part of this conversation because it's just something that we definitely need to talk about. We always focus on interviewing skills and how to get that resume done, but we don't really touch on how we feel and the stress and anxiety of job searching. So I'm really excited to be a part of this discussion.
Good deal. So, all right. So let's say I just got word 2 weeks ago that I've lost my job, whether it's I've been furloughed and they hope to bring me back, or totally laid off, jobs eliminated. I've got a lot of stress going on. I've got unemployment insurance, and that's a crazy mess. It's so busy, and how do I manage that, and the job search, and the family, and everything else? So, could you walk us through some of the emotions that people feel, and then we'll follow that up with how to deal with that and how to stay focused on that job search?
Oh, yeah, definitely a great question. So, what I would say emotionally, you have to deal with that first because you feel a certain type of way when you experience a loss. I definitely have experienced that. So, I can attest to those feelings of, oh my gosh, what just happened? Oh Lord, how am I going to take care of my family? Oh, why me? What do I need to change about myself to make me better? Oh my goodness, how am I going to get through today? Oh Lord, I just don't feel like doing anything else today. Let me just go crawl back in bed. So when you have different emotions going on, you know, again, there are a lot of negative thoughts that will go through your mind because you're dealing with the shock, first of all, of no longer having a job. So you have to deal with those things. I will tell you definitely don't sit there and ignore them. You're not perfect. You have to deal with that emotion first so that you can get past that and begin to move forward. And I will say this, timing, no one's timing is the same. So you have to go through your phases. What's for you is for you. Your timing will be different than the next person. So you can't really compare yourself. So don't be so hard on yourself. You know, focus first on getting your mind right and just dealing with that. So if it means you have to cry it out, you have to scream it out, you have to say what you have to say, do that. I wouldn't self-indulge in certain things because when you're dealing with emotions like this and you're very upset about something or depressed, you have to be careful that your mental health is okay. You don't want to go back to anything that would have been an addiction for you or may have triggered you in a way to have a negative behavior. So you have to try to remain focused and positive.
You know, what when you talk about the triggers, what are some of the typical triggers that you've seen over your career?
Oh, well, Randy, you know, the triggers really it goes back to just that whole set of depression. You know, you may, first of all, social media is great, but when you're at your lowest point and you're looking on Facebook or you're on Instagram or you're scrolling LinkedIn and you see something is happening for someone else and it's wonderful, you will stop at a point and say, oh,
Yeah.
and you'll get just so depressed about that. You got to change your mindset.
And, you know, Joy, that's powerful. I'm reading the book called The Book of Joy. You ever heard of this?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
I have that book.
see that smile? I mean, that book is good, isn't it? It's two old guys, and I'm being facetious. It's Bishop. No, dude, it wouldn't be you or me. Who is it? Dalai Lama, the Dalai Lama, and Bishop Tutu.
Yeah.
And it's really a good read. And one of the things I just read in there, and this is the words I got from what they wrote, is don't compare yourself to others. That doesn't help you. And what I wrote last night when I was reading this is don't compare yourselves to others. Compare yourself today to where you were, or where you, more importantly, where you want to be.
Right.
Yeah, it's huge. Hey, I got a question that came in. And remember, folks, if you have a question for Orielle or Randy or even me, because I have an answer to at least one question every day, please use the Q&A box. You have to ask us questions so we can help you. Yeah, it's down there on the bottom of the screen somewhere. Q and ampersand A. Josh says, hey, do you think it would be useful? Do you think people should find alternative ways to provide income until the company decides to hire again? Anybody?
Yes, that's not a bad idea. You have to think outside the box because, again, only you know your financial situation, you know your timing, you know how long you can go without. So I definitely would say yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, there's a whole philosophy or mindset around where does money come from? And if you want to, in my opinion, as I've experienced this, if you want to differentiate yourself from the company, if you no longer want to see yourself as more than anything, primarily a part of that company, then find other ways to enjoy and create revenue. I'm a 5 lines of revenue guy. I'm doing my own business, and it's very diverse, and it creates excitement. It does create revenue. So yeah, call it a side hustle, whatever you want. There's lots of ways that we can make money today differently than what we have in the past. Randy, thoughts?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there are a lot of online sites you can look at, including LinkedIn, and we're going to talk more about LinkedIn later, but there's if you were to follow hashtag get hired, it's all one word, hashtag get hired on LinkedIn, you'll find a lot of resources there put out by LinkedIn. And they've got a blogger that's basically he's been tasked with, and that lists companies that are hiring, industries, that sort of thing. Right. So yeah, there's a lot there. The side hustle, that's a good question. So Orielle, all right, fine. So I'm still at home. I recognize some of these triggers. Maybe I need to limit my social media time. What are some other tips you could give for people to deal with the emotions of sitting at home now?
Yeah, and right now, in the midst of this pandemic, it doesn't make it much easier. I would also say talk about it. You know, find you that one person that you can talk about what you're going through with. You know, the more you talk about it and figure out a way to process your emotions, then you'll begin to heal and be able to move through your next step. Yeah. I would also say exercise, you know, even if it's not strenuous exercise, take a walk, you know, do something where you can just get your heart pumping again. I know that when I take walks, sometimes I'll walk for about 30 minutes. And by the time when I first start walking, I'll have my mind set on one thing. And then when I finish my walk, I'm totally energized. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you have to find a way to balance out your thoughts. So I think talking and then walking also will help you through that.
Yeah. Sandy posted in the Q&A, she says, I think there's an opportunity right now for us to turn our hobbies into a business. Or if you already have something that you do that provides residual income, ramp it up. Yeah. And she's a health coach and she's ramped it up a bit. I'm with you, Sandy. My business is taking a huge hit because nobody wants to see me in person anymore. I don't know why. But so what I've been doing is I've been spending the last month ramping up my online webinars and ramping up my online classes on Illumio, Skillshare, Teachable, TabletWise, you know, finding other ways to create revenue. So absolutely, Sandy. Anything else?
No, you're right on it. You know, if you sit back and wait for the government to take care of you, well, I mean, and that's an option. But here's kind of a twist to that too. If I'm an employer and I've had to downsize, when it comes to, okay, now it's time to ramp up, I'm going to look for people who are front of mind. And so networking comes into play, and people with that enthusiastic showing initiative, that whole thing comes into play. So keep the networking piece up. Don't just go into a shell. Something I think Steve Miller had brought up, Steve, off to the side, was, and that kind of leads into a point or a question I was going to share with you, and that is, he talks about maybe Skyping a friend from out of state, just to chat. I think having that accountability partner or that other person who may be, not in your household, but outside the household, but yet still, I think there's some value in that accountability. I know, Teddy, you do a weekly job club, and you hold people accountable. What have you done? What do you plan to do? Orielle, could you speak to that? The value of accountability.
Oh, definitely. I was once a part of a leadership academy, and one of the things that we were challenged with was creating a personal board of directors. And that board of directors consists of, it could be your professional friends. I don't recommend family, because family knows you, and family, family. Now, my family is brutally honest, so that can be a positive or negative. But you need to find someone that will, tell you from the outside looking in things about yourself that can help you improve on certain situations. So I would recommend, creating that personal board of directors, that somebody that you can just go to, pick up the phone and call, bounce things off of, but really get that true, honest opinion about yourself. But that person will also share in the experience of holding you accountable, to your goal setting, and things we'll talk about coming up as far as how to get yourself back on that path to get that job.
And Orielle, one of the things that comes to mind when you ask people to help you in that context is you better listen to them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can't say, "Oh, Randy, you don't know what you're talking about, dude. You're crazy." That won't grow you, and that will diminish the relationship.
Exactly.
Randy?
I think people want to be helpful. By and large, most people want to be helpful, and to the extent that they can provide the help. If you ask somebody, "Could you hire me?" Jobs, and then that kind of puts you in the not really. I can't help you with that. But I think if you can pick people's brain, because you know what, now is a time, and I see this a lot with my clients at Goodwill's Professional Center. They're at a fork in the road, and in this case, it's not necessarily a proactive fork in the road where they decide they want to make a change.
Right.
The change was forced on them. But in some ways it's a blessing. So many people have told me that once they get past that shock of, "Oh no, I don't have anywhere to go tomorrow to work. I don't. But you know what? I've been thinking about this for years. Been thinking about it, but I'm in a comfortable rut. I'm making money and I'm good." Kind of. But now they're at a fork in the road. So again, I think some of the emotions, Orielle, you could look at this as an opportunity, almost like a fresh start. Not to be a Pollyanna about it, but speak to that fresh start, that whole let's go get it.
Randy, that's a good point. One of the things that I often talk about when I have the opportunity is to tell people, your job, whatever your profession is, in your job description, you have so many different roles and responsibilities that you do. There are a few things that you're really good at, that you truly are an expert. You may have to think outside the box and tap into that skill or that responsibility, not just looking at that one thing. Like, for example, a human resources professional. Well, there's all different avenues, related to human resources. But if I'm really, really good at training and development, then maybe that is where I should focus my attention on, really a job in training and development. So you don't have to limit yourself. Only you can be your own roadblock. You have to just kind of think outside the box.
And I think all of us at some point have gone through a job change, career change. And so that ability to reinvent yourself and to be able to demonstrate value in a different or related field, I think not only is a valuable tool to stay employed, but I think it's good emotionally and mentally up here to know that, you know what, I can make those changes. I can adapt based on the economy and just a whole host of things. But I really like that idea of the accountability. The accountability is huge. And again, family means well, but getting that outside input, I think, is valuable. What do you think, guys think?
And can I just elaborate on what Teddy said too? You have to be open to receive the constructive criticism. And then you can listen to people. You may not always agree, but your accountability team is there to help you. And again, it's like Teddy said, it's about growth and development. So you have to be at a point where you can receive things. And then, you take the bit of information that you hear and you you determine yourself what aspects of it you need to work on within yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Kurt writes, I have heard and used the term for this as work sabbatical. Take time out to reflect, evaluate, analyze, and determine if money was not an obstacle, what would you do? So we're sort of kind of iffy, maybe in the sabbatical. Randy and I both are working, and Orielle, I'm guessing you're working to some degree as well. But
well, right now I'm actually in transition. And so that's why I feel like the information that I'm sharing with you is totally true from real experience. I've been on both sides of the table.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a good face to say you have to stay motivated and positive during this time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, by the way, I'll get there's a YouTube video out there that's on Randy's seen it. I think I call it Dog Ugly. It's my video. But it's called Dream Out Loud, Share Your Dreams of Others.
Oh.
It's about having these conversations with yourself, having conversations with other people, and uncovering those ideas that you've never imagined that could be absolutely phenomenal for you. So I'll share that later on. Another question came in. Randy, let me hit a few. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, no, I was just going to say we've got a couple minutes left in this segment, and I'd like it. So now we've talked about what the emotions are, kind of how to deal with that. Can you speak to motivation and what can we do to stay motivated? Because we don't know when this stuff is going to end. It's one thing to know, okay, I have 2 weeks and boom, it's over. We don't know when this will end. So how do we stay motivated?
Staying motivated, that's different depending on the individual. What I would say is, surround yourself with just positive thoughts, positive people. Again, I have to go back to that personal board of directors, someone who can hold you accountable. When you're staying motivated, that might be reading different affirmations, whatever it is that keeps you going. For me, it's my faith. And I never ever try to mix that with business, but really you have to hold on to whatever it is that you believe in and know that there's something on the other side for you. So just, keeping yourself positive. It's easy to feel down when you feel you are rejected, but you just got to turn that into something positive. So again, I just have to stress that during this time, it's really important to keep your mind right. So again, walking, getting that stress out. And again, it's okay to express yourself through emotion, which may be crying, but just whatever it is, get it out. So motivating, Randy, is kind of tricky. It's different for each person, and you have to find your niche. Again, someone mentioned in the comments that, turning to your hobbies. Yes, I love reading, I love knitting. I love playing the piano, whatever it is. You pick up your old clarinet. I used to play the clarinet, No, Teddy, don't get any ideas. That was a while ago. And based on the way I was trying to play it the other day, I really need to practice. So the point is, focus on some of those things, because if you remember who you are, where you started from, what got you to that point, it will help you keep you motivated. You just don't forget who you are.
Yeah.
Here's
Absolutely.
one. Yeah. This was something
hit the Q&A in a minute.
What, you want to get Q&A?
Yeah, when you're ready, I'll hit the Q&A.
Okay. All right, I see a lot of on Facebook. Cause I got nothing else to do, right? So I'm on Facebook more than I've been probably in a while, right? But one of the memes that's out there deals with introvert versus extrovert, and how extroverts are going crazy and introverts are really digging this because they can get to hang out in solitude. I don't know if this whole job hunt stuff and all the emotions really are a whole lot different for introverts, extroverts. Could you speak to that just a little bit?
Oh, yeah, it is different because and I'm sorry, who were you talking to me, Randy? Okay.
Yeah.
If you're an introvert and you face something like this, it definitely can set you back a bit because you're not really used to getting out there, networking with others. And as far as being an extrovert, that might not be as hard for you. But one of the things that I want to say, when I talked about that board of directors, one of the things that comes to mind, and someone mentioned it in the comments, so I definitely wanted to stress on that, you do need to find you a mentor as well. Someone who can, one, hold you accountable, but may be able to help you. They may have a greater network than you and can also refer you to other people. I know I'm part of a very wonderful group of HR professionals, and there's not one person in that organization that I will not be able to pick up the phone and call and just ask for some advice that may be able to assist me. So it's within your network too. So this is not the time for you to clam up and stay in your shell. At this point, you do have to push forward. The good thing about it is the state of the world right now. We know people are not really out and about. So people should not be too hard to contact at this point. So just keep trying, pick up that phone and call someone.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that. I have a very deliberate philosophy that I've been doing. Every day, I try to call 4 or 5 people for one reason and one reason only, just to say hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. Hey, let's hit the questions. Ashley says, now, before I speak to Ashley's question, I want to remind everybody, I think I'm speaking to my fellow panelists here, that none of us present ourselves as counselors or psychologists in any way.
Correct.
We're people with ideas. So we're very clear to say we're not a counselor, we're not a psychologist. So Ashley,
I have a driver's license.
Randy, that came with the wallet you found.
That's the only license I have is the driver's. No, Teddy, you and I have been doing this for a long time. Orielle, you've been in HR for a long time, and quite frankly, we have simply seen a lot of things. We've seen a lot of things. We've been on both sides of the job hunt, on the hiring side and on the candidate side. So again, this is more anecdotal stuff. Yeah,
we're just speaking from experience, not from training. But so Ashley says this. She goes, she has a business, and her business is sort of like shut down because her business is all about people getting together, and people ain't getting together. Okay. So what's happening in her personal life is that her husband is pushing her, not the word she used, to look for a job. And she's struggling on maintaining the business, looking for a job, and entertaining a 3-year-old. Now, I want to speak to that from my perspective and let Orielle and Randy share. I'll tell you from my perspective. I have a business. It's a very lucrative business. Randy's heard me say it. I make $63 million a year in my mind. Okay. I pay my bills. But there are times.
Are you hiring? I'm sorry.
There are times when it gets tough.
Yeah.
When revenue slows down and, I make a dumb mistake, which I'll tell that story another day. And, business comes nearly to a screeching halt. And then my mind and my spouse start having conversations with me about should I be looking for a job? Yeah. And that was really tough for me a period of time for me to go through because I thought the right answer was to go get a job. But I also thought the right answer was to buckle down, tighten down, minimize expenses, cut them all to the bone, and just work harder to grow the business and to diversify the business. I took the latter option, grow the business and diversify it. And I'm not saying that I'm back up to where I want to be, but I'm happy. And my spouse is happy, and there's not a lot of negative conversations going on up here.
That's good.
Yeah. So, Orielle, thoughts about that struggle with spouses who are challenging us?
Yeah, that can always be challenging. Again, I think, and from this aspect, I'm speaking on being married for this month, thank goodness, 20 years, but I think it's communication. You just have to, communicate with each other, be on the same page. It's not always going to be easy. It's not cookie cutter, but you do need to just continue to have the conversations and again, deal with your finances. That's one of the things that I often talk about when talking about this. Once you experience that layoff or termination or whatever it is, you have that emotional side going on, but you got to stop and deal with the business because your household is a business too. So you definitely need to handle that business and think about ways that you need to get your bills organized, contact your creditors or whoever it is and make arrangements. So, you can't get so far outside with your emotions that you forget to handle business because you don't want to be without.
Yeah, absolutely. Randy, a thought?
Just laughing.
You're not supposed to be reading my chats, dude.
Yeah. one of our attendees says, I'm single and I have a dog. So
Yeah, I
so
have that
those are,
too,
I'm sure,
Bob.
interesting discussions. I'm single and I don't have a dog. I don't even have fish. So so I don't have to feed anybody but myself. And the refrigerator is right back there, all too close by, I might add. But maintaining structure is important.
Exactly.
I think we're about halfway through our show for today, and unless there are other areas dealing with emotion, we also wanted to talk about LinkedIn and some of the aspects of a job hunt. Anything else?
Well,
Want to tie up?
let me hit these last three questions first.
I need a fish.
Yeah.
I might
Sandy
eat it.
suggested Randy get a fish.
I might eat it. Cast my line.
Real quick, my observation about fish and food is I saw a meme where people are all raving about this new egg salad. I'm like, whoa, egg salad diminishes chicken wings. So Sandy says you're your own competition. I feel we underestimate ourselves about limiting our beliefs. Sandy's right on. Everyone needs a mentor and at every level. I'm with you, Sandy. Thanks for sharing that. Gary says, I try to keep a regular schedule and make job hunting my job. After doing this for nearly 3 months, including this COVID slowdown, my wife is really getting fed up and doesn't seem to understand that I am trying, but and not being antisocial. I'm just trying to be focused and disciplined in my daily work. Suggestions quickly on that one, Orielle?
Yeah, try to stay focused. One of the things that I know I've done, I really took the time of being in transition right now to tap into the things I love to do. I'm very good at volunteering to do career coaching or any type of development and motivation, but I had to get back to my passion, and that's getting my hands into the community work. So what I did was I started volunteering again at a local food bank, and it gives me such purpose because it gives me the opportunity to help someone else that is in much more need than myself. But also, as from a director standpoint, it also humbles you in a sense because you're going into an environment where you have to take orders. I'm used to giving orders, but you have to learn how to be a servant leader. And part of that is following as well. So when you're in an environment where you can take orders from someone else, and I'm telling you, food banks have an operation and they run it. They have someone who's in charge of every step. But sometimes you have to take a step back and refocus, repurpose, and remember that, oh yeah, this is what got you to this point. I can do it, but look who else I'm helping in the midst of. So that's one of the things, Randy, that actually goes back to how do you stay motivated as well.
Yeah. And on a related kind of topic here, I love what I do for a living. I work for Goodwill. I run our professional center, and I'm paid to help people work through what they're going through right now.
Exactly.
And so I can be that accountability partner for a lot of folks who may not have that accountability. I can't tell you how many times I'm on this thing today and other days of the week with professionals who struggle just like everybody else with the guilt, the anger, the frustration, all of those things. Or some, I've got a few that just want to talk. Right. To Teddy's point, pick up the phone and call. And I do the same thing too. So I think staying active, staying in the game, trying to stay motivated in whatever works for us, whether it's volunteering, whether it's doing coaching in some capacity, or growing your own hobby into a more lucrative business. You've got the opportunity now, or to grow hair. I could do that too.
Miracle Grow.
The world is my oyster.
It's gonna be a while, Randy.
So to wrap
but remember, it's not about timing. It's not about timing. So.
To wrap up Gary's question, Gary, I really think it's a huge, go back to what Orielle said earlier, conversations with your spouse. I call them open conversations. An open conversation means you listen to the words she uses. And by the way, my wife is downstairs right now, and she heard me say that. She said, yeah, you don't do that. But I try. Open conversations are important. So, all right. So now transition. Wayne's got a question, but we'll get that in the next segment.
All right. So we're on to our.
Who owns somebody owns an ice house. Who Owns the Ice House? Another good book to read. 8 Life Lessons from an Unlikely Entrepreneur. So, Amity, thanks for sharing that.
The Ice House, I went to Marietta College in Ohio.
Okay.
And next to our fraternity house was the Ice House, within 1 minute of walking distance to supply all of our adult beverage needs. And I remember that from many years ago, the Ice House, but that's not the Ice House they're talking about in this book.
But it's
I'm pretty
relevant.
Randy,
What?
stay on topic.
It
Focus,
triggered. It was a
Randy,
trigger.
focus.
It was a trigger. It was a trigger. It was a trigger.
Okay. We
Stay on
talked about
topic.
that. We talked about those triggers.
The Ice House. Oh yeah.
Okay, so where are we going here?
We're going LinkedIn. We're gonna.
Well, yeah, we're going to go LinkedIn, but hey, Randy, let's couch this conversation into around at least 2, if not 3 words. Let's couch it around 2 words. Online presence.
All right.
Online
write that.
network.
Let me write that down.
Online presence and online network, which a huge part of that is LinkedIn. And it's really important. And so an online presence today, look, you're not out meeting people in real life, gripping and grinning and hugging people. We're not doing that. So how else are you going to be found beyond your social media? Randy, what are you thinking of that text?
Well, yeah, I mean, now is an opportunity for you to really look at your social media and look at it with purpose.
Right.
Again, I horse around on Facebook. Teddy, you know that, and I'm random and silly, but I'm also professional in what I post. Well, sometimes, but anyway, that aside, LinkedIn is the horse you got to ride. And if you're a professional or an aspiring professional, at some point, people are going to go on LinkedIn and check you out. And we'll talk about why they do that and so forth. But take the time now, while you got the time, to really take a look at what your profile looks like. Do a Google search of yourself. Try to see what's out there about you. All right. All of those things are things that other people are able to see as well. And so clean up your Facebook if need be. Same with your Instagram and other ones. But take the time and maybe have somebody like Orielle or Teddy or me take a look for you. And again, we're not here to hire or fire you, but we can sit there and go, look, as a hiring official, here's some things you may want to be aware of. Yeah.
Now, I might hire you, but I'm going to fire you pretty quick, because if she downstairs hears I brought on a new employee, I'm in trouble. Hey, Ray, let me go back to what you said.
Yes.
You said, and I know you and I play on Facebook a lot, but we also help people on Facebook a lot. And so you use the words like, oh, that aside, don't put Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, girl. Yeah, don't put that aside. You've got to pay attention to it, because the moment you do another totally top naked picture on TikTok, and your next potential employer is on TikTok and they see you, that's going to have an impact on you.
Right.
Orielle, there's no naked pictures of Teddy on TikTok.
I was going to say, I have to go to mental note, go to TikTok.
You got to think about that. Because the 90% or some number like that of everything you do on social media is public.
That's true.
Unless you clearly know how to manage it, and most people don't.
Yeah, I'll tell you, on LinkedIn, and I tell this to our clients, on Facebook, hopefully most of us know that we can limit the audience to either public or to friends or to very specific groups of friends that we've set aside. You can still do the same thing on LinkedIn, but nobody ever bothers to do that. You can limit it to just your connections, but why should you want to limit something to only your friends? So anything that's out there is public for all intents and purposes. And so if you happen to like things that are overtly controversial, or again, getting into politics, religion, causes, just things that are, let's say, not job specific to your line of work, those are, I can go on anybody's page and I can look to see what activity they've had. I don't have to be connected to them. So again, LinkedIn is a public forum more so than perhaps even Facebook or other ones, where you can ratchet down the people who are able to see what you're doing.
And Steve says in a message to us just now that as an insider in companies, hiring managers, hiring recruiters, et cetera, will hunt you down on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Orielle, thoughts?
You know, unfortunately, that is what happens. You do have to, and you're guilty sometimes by association. So I think Randy or someone just mentioned, you know, what you like, that you're associated with that. So people can mean, you might like something because it's a well-written article, but someone may take it like, oh, that's your viewpoint as well. So you do have to be careful, because you can get caught up in that whole crazy web of just social media and you being associated with something that might be potentially harmful or negative.
Yeah. So I want to go use the word you used just now. You said, unfortunately, they do. I don't look at it that way. I look at it that fortunately they do.
Yeah.
The different mindset that Desmond Tutu and Dalai Lama shared with me last night. It's a different mindset.
Yes.
Okay, don't look at it negatively, look at it positively. Now, if you want to look at it positively, you better make sure that what you touch, like,
Exactly.
comment, and share, does not diminish your brand. Randy?
Exactly.
Yeah, if you look at social media as a way, and you talked earlier about your online presence, if you look at it as a way to market yourself, your product, yourself, your credibility, your background, your experience, then you're going to approach Facebook and other social media with a different purpose versus, hey, I'm just on here to horse around, screw around with my buddies, you know, hey, great photo, you guys doing the whatever. It's two different mindsets, and I agree with you, Teddy. I horse around that I'm silly, but my silliness doesn't cross over into mean spirited. Mine is just random goofiness. It's fun, but I'm purposeful when I put a lot of the professional side, because I am trying to build a brand out there too.
Yeah. So I have an edict that I live by. I live by many edicts. Some of them come from really, really smart people. Some of them are my own. And one of my own edicts is this: never do, say, or engage on social media in any way you don't want to be seen, heard, or perceived of in life.
Exactly.
You know what that creates? A whole lot of backspacing.
Oh yeah.
When in doubt, leave it out, right? That's another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another way to go.
So,
yeah. So LinkedIn's a big topic. What else are we going to talk about with your online presence? Teddy, you talked about online presence. Yeah.
Yeah, let's take online presence a little deeper, and that is, if you're going to build an online presence, your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook profile, your Twitter profile, and if you're going to build an online presence, then you need to be focused. Now, Wayne brought up, and that's not Wayne over here, it's the chat box. Wayne brought up that I'm searching for several types of positions, and so he wants to know, how do I get my headline and my summary to reflect varied experience? And how can I tailor my profile to highlight varied experiences without restricting what I include to be, or so that not restricting to just one topic? So this comes back to, how do you build a presence and that speaks to a person with diversity, a person with broad skills, a person looking for different opportunities. So what you've got to do is, hey, I got an analogy. It's coming to me. So Ford, the Ford F-150. Anybody know that it's a now, don't be anybody bashing Ford because you're Chevy fans. That's not the point of this conversation. But the Ford F-150, the 2020 model, who do you think they sell those to? Orielle, who do they sell those to?
Tall people.
I think they sell them to women.
Well, wait a minute. So wait, Randy, it's all people. Okay, Randy says women.
Women.
Yeah, but who
And
else?
I'm sorry for that background noise. I think my dog just figured out what room I was in, so I might have to mute us.
Here's who I think they sell them to. I've had an F-150. I've had a couple of them. When I had my first one, my dad called that a city truck. It's not a work truck. Mine was all cleaned up, and I didn't get to let it get dirty. I was a business professional working in a professional executive role, and my dad called it a city truck. And I'm okay with that analogy. I'm not a farmer. I'm not a construction worker. So one audience, Wayne, is to build your profile so that it appeals to that segment. Okay, like the F-150, they appeal, their brochures, their marketing, their ad campaigns appeal to city people and workers, construction workers, farmers. So Wayne, you've got to build your content about Wayne Blackendeckler, or excuse me, Wayne, the Ford F-150, and you've got to position your story, your experience, your skills, your accomplishments so that they appeal to both sides of the things that you're looking for. Randy, thoughts?
No, you're right on it.
Yeah.
One good thing with LinkedIn is that you can be a little wordier than you can certainly on a resume, where with a resume, ideally, you've targeted that toward the target, where on LinkedIn, you don't know who's coming to your page. So you have a one size fits all. And that's where I would dump more on there than versus a resume. So I think you can be a little wordier on there. And getting into the specifics is difficult to do right here, right now, versus sitting down one-on-one and talking through it. But yeah, it's a little tricky. Certainly it is, definitely.
Here's a thought. If
Yeah.
you're going to position yourself for two different things, let's say you're a Ford F-150 and you're a Maserati, the 2020 model Maserati X39520. So those are two different things.
Yeah.
So if you're going to position yourself for two way divergent things, then you've got to be really, really more purposeful. Here's an idea. In your about section, talk about the thing that is the most exciting to you. I want to be a cat wrestler. I want to be a cat wrestler expert. And then down below, you talk about being a dock boy. You separate the conversations. You look for the skills and experiences that align, but you break them up into two different pieces so that you're very clear. If you're looking at very diverse opportunities. Orielle, thoughts?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, like I said, that background. Hang on a minute. Can we come back to me? I think I'm not sure if I have the long guy here, and my dog is yelling at the.
So that's what you call it, a lawn guy? Go ahead, we'll come back to you.
They are here. They do the lawn on Wednesdays, and for some reason he wants to attack them, and I just.
Go ahead, we'll come back to you. So Randy.
Yeah.
This is important. This whole presentation, how to build a profile, is important. What are some did you take care of the dog, Orielle?
I did, and oops. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry about that. But no, I agree with what you said. I actually found that very interesting. The way you said kind of separate the two, but I definitely like that concept of being clear. You just have to be clear and specific and purposeful with your intent.
Yeah. Randy, what are the thoughts about that presence?
Now, really, the online presence, people will go, let me back up a little bit. Companies go to LinkedIn for a couple of reasons. One is to vet you. They know you, you've applied, you're in their system. They're going to go online like Orielle will do as part of the winnowing process to figure out, do I want to bring this guy in for an interview or hire them? But they already know you. So they already have the resume. They already have the application. So you've already customized it in that case, right? So the other reason they go on there, and Orielle, you've done this, and I've done it too, is to go on searching for keywords because I have an opening to fill. And I don't know who you are, but I conduct a search for geography for certain keywords, and you better hope to be captured in that search. Right. So as long as you're captured, at least now I'm looking at your profile. So I think it's either way they get to you. And if they see enough on there that it appeals to them, then obviously that's a win for you. But I go back, Teddy, what you said was right on about this structuring of it and so forth. It's a difficult task because you can't customize it based on that specific audience viewing it. It's a broad audience.
Two more points about that presence before we move into some other pieces about your online world. Number one is, yes, keywords are important. Make sure you have the keywords in there that speak to the skills that people are looking for. And secondly, Look at your prior experience stuff back when you used to be a dog wrestler and you're applying to be a cat wrestler today. Get the dog wrestler stuff out of there, or minimize what you talk about in your past that is not relevant or showing professional growth to who you are today.
Yeah, and the skills may be transferable. So you're still wrestling. So you're still wrestling. You're still wrestling. But it's just that it'd be like if you're in sales and you've gone from selling widgets to gadgets. It's two different industries, but it's still the sales process. And
you remember the days, Randy, when I used to talk about use the analogy of pole dancing?
Are we going to get into that today?
Let's. You know what? If it's relevant, I feel we need to discuss it.
There you go. There you go.
And again, I'm looking.
I stopped using the pole dancing analogy. So, hey, Randy, Orielle, think about this. Think about the major mistakes that people make on their online presence. Okay.
I got one for you.
Go ahead, buddy.
One is they don't have a LinkedIn page, or they have it, but they forgot their password. They have to blow the dust off it. And we see that, unfortunately, that it's human nature. Hey, by the time they come to us, to you, me, Teddy, a lot of times they're out of a job and they come to us for help. And part of the help we provide is making sure their LinkedIn is at least doesn't hurt them. At least doesn't hurt them. But so often they don't even have a presence. And so understanding why you should have one is important. And then beyond that, okay, here's mistakes that a lot of people make that we see. We can talk about that too.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to throw out one and then you can throw out one. In the context of what Randy said, I call that driftwood. It's a LinkedIn profile up there that doesn't do you any value at all, just sitting out there beating up against the beach and just not doing any of that. Driftwood, okay? And towards that, on another context, Tom says, how about hollow flamboyance and appearing to specialize in everything? Well, by golly, Tom, I do. You're right. That won't work. Orielle, what's the big mistake you see?
Oh, I would say we were in a session actually a month or two ago at Goodwill, and this topic came up, and we were talking about your picture. You know, how your picture should look on LinkedIn. You know, this is not the time for you to post on LinkedIn. What is that, Teddy? But this is not the time for you to post with your favorite spirit, your favorite drink, you know, your whatever your drink, your beer might be. It's not the time for that, unless, of course, you're in marketing for a major beer distributor, and that's part of the brand. But really, what your picture looks like, you really need to spend some time working on that and making that professional, or making it at least a good look.
Yeah, no bathroom selfies,
right.
You know, red
or the duck
rose
lips.
pulled over your
None of
shoulder.
that. Right.
And yet, don't come to a Goodwill event where Teddy Burris is coaching you on how to build a LinkedIn profile. And I go, dude, you need a picture. And you run into the bathroom and you take a bathroom selfie. Exactly. That was in your event, dude. This guy came back and said, Mr. Burris, I fixed it. And I'm like, man, you screwed up, Royal. Right.
Yeah, I got a couple for you. Of course, you know, we Teddy, you and I see this stuff all day long. But one is to have outdated contact information. So let's say I'm working for Goodwill, and so I have my Goodwill email, I've got my Goodwill, whatever, all of my current employer info in the top section. But then I move on to a different employer, and I still have the old website. I still have all of the old information, and it not only, if somebody wanted to contact me, does that look? I mean, it looks bad. Inattention.
I call it lazy. Yeah,
it's just late, but we don't know what we don't know. And a lot of people, and another example is your LinkedIn public profile URL, that profile with all the numbers at the end. So many people don't know that they can change it and that they should change it. So unless we tell them or they seek it out somehow, a lot of folks just do. It'd be like me trying to get on Instagram or Twitter. I'm on it, but I haven't touched it in, I don't mess with it.
Hey, I don't know if Sandy's, I don't know if Sandy is stating or asking when she said no boudoir pictures.
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I Steve says some female pics are a little too edgy. And Sandy, thanks for letting me joke with you. I'm with you. I mean, you need to represent yourself in the way you want to be represented. And here's one more tip about major mistakes: spelling and grammar.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You want to see how bad spelling is? Go to LinkedIn and search for what word, Randy?
Manger.
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 Manger. It'll blow you away the number of mangers that are out there. Professional mangers. It's huge. So anyway, there's lots of mistakes we can make.
Yeah, I got another one. Here's another mistake a lot of people make. And again, they either don't know or they don't care. But either way, it's a bad look. And that is when you want to invite somebody to connect to you, take the time to customize it. Tell me why you want to connect to me. Tell me how you met me, how you know me, how I can help you. Now, in my business, and I suspect in others, you get invites from people you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And they've heard of you because they know that you're a hiring official. They want to get in with you and kind of get in your network and whatever. But you're sitting there going, why? What's in it for me?
Right.
And so I know, Teddy, you preach this all the time. And if they don't do an invite with some kind of accompanying text with it, you send them back a message and say, what's going on? Why should we do it?
Yeah. So it's important. So we got a few more minutes. Do you want to talk? Do you want to stay on presence? Do you want to talk about network? Where do you think we should go?
Orielle, I'll throw it to you. You've been on the hiring side.
Yeah.
And whereas Teddy and I are coaching the job seeker folks more so, you're on the other side of that desk. So let me ask you a few questions. Again, this is totally off the cuff here. You didn't know what you were getting into, did you?
Well,
right, so,
hey, Randy, with you, but I'm your wingman. I'm like, whatever.
Know. All right, so I got a few for you. And we've done panel discussions at Goodwill. So it's the same kind of stuff that I'm going to ask you. But it deals with things like, okay, at what point in the hiring process do you start to look at their LinkedIn or maybe even Facebook, especially if they're hourly folks, more so Facebook, but at the professional level, folks that are on LinkedIn, at what point do you start to look and what value do you assess depending on what you see?
Oh, I think that's a good question. At what point? It's probably during that point, more in detail after that first initial phone screen, where I'm of interest in bringing on a candidate, and I want to just get a feel for that person, for their interests. Just, sometimes you can see depending on the position, how their writing style is, if that's relevant to the job. So I would say probably after that first initial screening, and I'm interested in passing that on to the hiring manager. Can you repeat the second part of your question?
Well, yeah. So it sounds like you do the phone screen and you say, okay, I'm trying to get a read on this guy before I bring him in. And so I'm going to vet them and go on, check them out online. But the other one then deals with how much weight. So, okay, so fine. Teddy Burris has applied for a job, maybe done a phone screen. So now you're going to bring him in. Well, what if he has no LinkedIn page? Or what if it's that skeletal driftwood page? Teddy, do that. I kind of like how you were doing that earlier. Do that.
We'll have to open up with that next time. We'll open up with that.
But that's your first visual impression of somebody, and what weight do you assign to that, and or prejudice, so to speak, to say, wait a second, this guy doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Does it hurt the guy if he has a none or lame LinkedIn page? And how you define lame is whatever. But
yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I have to be very careful because we HR professionals are very careful with what we say and how we.
But I'm not. You want me to answer the question?
So let's let Teddy answer that because I have to be very careful.
So, Orielle, I think I'd answer the same way you would.
Yeah.
It's all subjective based on the role that we're talking with you about. What their expectations of the job, the organization. Look, a barbershop in downtown Winston-Salem is going to look at that and get a different perspective than Wells Fargo hiring a new VP executive of their wealth management division. And I joke, Randy knows this, I joke about being a professional embezzler. Well, if I'm joking on, and by the way, I don't think I've ever written that on social media. I don't think I have. But if I ever said that joke on social media and I'm applying for a job at Wells Fargo as a wealth management professional, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's all going to be the value you're going to get, the use of the information you're going to get is going to be should be directly related to the role you're applying for, the industry you're applying in, and the company's culture. Orielle, is that fair?
It is. And I would like to add in brief, I throughout my career have mentored a lot of college students. Now, with college students, definitely if I have interns in or volunteers, I definitely take the time to kind of go over what I saw on their social media and tell them how this could be harmful and how you may want to restate this. Because I just want to always give them the fairest opportunity to compete for jobs. And see, they may not be learning that at the university setting. So I always try to take the opportunity to say, the pros and cons of this, and you really need to change this, because even though you're having fun right now, and this is not a paid job for you, HR managers or hiring managers may seek to your social media just to find out a little bit more about you. And if you have a lot of profanity on your page, or you might just be quoting the latest song on the most popular song on the radio, but it's very negative in language and very profane, people judge you by that. You try to say they don't, but they do. So I always try to make sure that I educate students about how to really make sure their social media presence is fitting for the job search.
Hey, we're just about out of time here.
Okay.
So, Teddy, you got about a minute. Anything you'd like to wrap up with, Orielle? Anything, but just anything in general? Thanks for coming, by the way.
Just again, really stop to deal with your emotions. It's okay. You're not alone. You're not the first person that this has happened to. You just have to find your niche and try to get through it. So just stay encouraged.
Stay encouraged. Teddy,
Orielle, do you have any online content? Are you a blogger or?
No, and part of the reason is because I'm kind of lazy when it comes to certain things. But I definitely think, I know maybe I am transparent. I'm sorry, but definitely it's not something that I wasn't thinking about. I just got to figure out how to work that out. So I may have to talk to you and Randy about that. Get me started there.
All right, so let's Orielle, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
This is not as painful as you were fearing.
No, well, after I got over Tom Brady's transition, I was ready to deal with anything. So that's a side note.
She and I are Patriots fans. Patriots. Hey, real quick, again, thanks, Orielle, for coming out to spend some time with us today. We'll have another guest next week. And Teddy, again, thanks for engineering our extravaganza today.
So let me close. Thank Randy. Thank you, Orielle. Good seeing you, lady.
Thank you.
So look, Randy and I we're committed to at least 8 more weeks of doing this. That's our commitment to you. And the way we want to fulfill our commitment to you is we want to bring you ideas, conversations, information that can help you. So the best way we can do that is get your thoughts, get your ideas. Susan, Moto, Jacoba, Amity, Ashley, and all 2,300 of you that are still on here. We'd love for you to share with us. You find us online, send us a message, an email, whatever, and tell us what you want. Tell us how we can help you, and so that we can make this worthwhile, and along the way, make it fun.
Right.
We'll have some fun, and find us on LinkedIn. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Now, how do I stop this thing?
I was going to say, how do I leave okay.
I'm going to kill it live on Facebook.